Taking a look around the D3200, you can see that it looks very similar to its predecessor. I've already done a full comparison between the two cameras if you want to check that out, but the gist of it is you can expect solid ergonomics and build quality as you would expect with a Nikon DSLR. It's still made entirely out of plastic, and it's not weather sealed like the D7000, but considering the much cheaper price tag, it's not a surprise and should still hold up fine with normal usage. Around back is the new 3-inch 921,000 dot LCD, which matches the resolution on the 3.2-inch screens on the D4 and the D800. This is a huge help when shooting in live view, as manual focus is much easier with the added clarity. There's also a new accessory you can pick up which will give the camera Wi-Fi capability for transferring pictures and video, as well as letting you control the camera from your smartphone. Probably the most important part of any DSLR is the image quality, and the D3200 definitely doesn't disappoint here. With 24 megapixels at your disposal, you have a lot of room for cropping images, which gives you a lot of extra freedom. In addition, it also works for allowing you to change your framing after the fact, without losing precious resolution. I really found myself enjoying shooting with the D3200 because of this. Being able to resolve that much detail really is impressive for a $700 camera. A lot of people complained when the D3200 was announced that having so many megapixels would compromise the low light capability, but overall ISO performance is very similar to the D3100. Noise is hardly distinguishable up to ISO 400, and even moving up to 800 noise is still fairly well maintained. ISO 1600 was about as high as I felt comfortable shooting. Here, noise is fairly visible even without cropping, and colors and detail begin to fade just a bit, but the files are still usable. 3200 doesn't lose too much more detail, but noise is more prevalent, and 6400 is really only good for resizing the photos down for web use. You can expand the ISO to 12800, but, well, don't do that if you don't have to. Where the D3200 really shines is in video mode. I shoot hours of video on a DSLR a week, and I've been very pleased with the D3200. It shoots 1080p video at 30 frames per second, or 720p at 60 frames and H.264 at around 21 megabits per second at 1080p. As you would expect, video looks really quite nice from the APS-C sensor, with good depth of field and great color. The kit lens works fine here, although I do most of my shooting with prime lenses, which will definitely give you better results.
Alright, so I'm now recording using the Nikon D3200. So this is pretty much totally stock. I'm using the 18 to 55mm kit lens, and I'm also using the built-in microphone, which I might add is actually not half bad at all. So one of the greatest things about the D3200 is that you can manually adjust your video. So for example, while I'm recording, I can go up to ISO 400 or 800, and also go ahead and adjust my shutter speed to kind of compensate for that. And again, bring the ISO back down, change the shutter speed, all that kind of good stuff is very, very easy to do while recording. On top of that, it also does have autofocus during video mode, so if I half press the shutter, see it should autofocus on the grass, and then you can use the D-pad on the back of the camera to adjust exactly where you want to focus. Again, go ahead and half press one more time. It'll adjust quite right here. It's not quite the best, especially with the kit lens, but there we go. So pretty decent job there. Now the autofocus isn't great. It's definitely nice to have, but as you can hear, it's a little bit loud, and since you have to half press the shutter each time, it's not going to be continuous.
The D3200 also has a microphone jack, which is helpful when you're out on a shoot. Although I personally prefer to use external audio, it is a nice option to have. A very nice feature is that you can manually adjust your audio levels, as well as display your levels on screen as you record. With full manual control over the 1080p video, audio in with level adjustment, and the low light performance and depth of field, this is one of the strongest Nikon cameras for video to date. Overall, the Nikon D3200 is an excellent DSLR and a considerable improvement over the already great D3100. The megapixel count is second only to the D800 in the Nikon range, a camera that costs 4 times as much. ISO performance is reasonable, build quality is top notch, and the video mode is a massive improvement.